Hey, what's up? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching Sit Down. Ian Karmel here with us. Game on, coming to CBS. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. All things considered, which I think is like the stock answer you have to give.
Yeah, if you say you're not doing so well, then people are going to get concerned and going to call you and try and text you and all that stuff.
It immediately becomes like a 15 tweet a text thread, like right off the bat. I'm doing all right, man. I can't complain. I'm in my house. My family's healthy. I got to do the show. I'm good, man. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, so when did you guys film everything? Because I'm really pumped you got to do it. So how did it all shake out?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. No, it was when we filmed everything. We filmed everything back in November, so It was like kind of late November, right before the holidays. And yeah, we were in a big studio on CBS Radford's lot, filled with like a 300-person crowd, and then like me wrestling a sumo wrestler, or having Ronda Rousey put me in an armbar. It feels like longer ago, except for the armbar, which feels like it just happened yesterday.
Yeah, you're probably still feeling that one a little bit.
Yeah. Even when Ronda Rousey puts you in like a playful, fun armbar, it still is one of the most terrifying moments of your life.
So that's got to be up there in terms of one of the craziest things that happened with this. But what else ranks up there, just in terms of, creating this, actually doing it, and now people getting the chance to see it?
Yeah. One of the craziest things was they told us we were going to be sumo wrestling. So one of the games on Game On is that me and then the other comedian, Bobby Lee, had to stay in the ring for as long as we could with a sumo wrestler while our teammates, Rob Gronkowski and Venus Williams, answered questions. And they brought out a sumo wrestler for Bobby. Bobby's like smaller than me. He's a smaller dude. And they brought out like a sumo wrestler who probably was like about my size. And I was like, oh, this is going to be easy, because here's this guy. He weighs 300 pounds. If he comes out, I'm just going to hug him, and then we'll wear each other out, and that's how we'll win. And then they send my sumo wrestler out, and they introduce him as the biggest living Japanese person in the world.
Oh, my gosh.
The biggest sumo wrestler of all time. And this guy who weighs like 640 pounds comes walking down these stairs. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to sumo wrestle this guy. I thought I was on like the cusp of a new burgeoning career. And luckily my sumo wrestler was nice. Bobby's was like, had kind of a mean streak.
Oh man.
Like my guy winked at me right before I ran in and then like hugged him. And like I played football. I was like, I've tried to move big people around before, but that was just the most insane thing where like you're aware that at any moment he could just decide to like pick me up and throw me out of the ring.
That's crazy.
And I'm a full grown man. So that was crazy. The Ronda Rousey thing was crazy. We had to jump off a 30-foot platform.
Really?
For a couple of them, yeah, they built like so for those who don't know the show, it's almost like a grown-up version of Double Dare or like Legends of the Hidden Temple in like kind of a fun way, where they have these big obstacle courses. And to start the obstacle course, we had to jump off a platform that was like hanging 30 feet in the air.
Wow.
You have a harness on, but as many times as you scream at your own brain that you're wearing a harness, it still doesn't care. You still have to like take that first step, and it was so scary.
That sounds really scary. Yeah, I'm glad you guys had the protection, but damn, man, that's pretty wild.
It like millions of years of like evolution and like every instinct in your brain is saying like, don't jump off this 30-foot platform. You sprain your ankle if you take 2 steps at a time. But thankfully the harness did hold, and I'm here to talk to you today.
Well, that's good. How about working with Gronk and Venus Williams? What was the coolest part of that experience?
It was so surreal. Like 6 episodes in, you're sitting there and like you're sitting next to Venus Williams and you're making like small talk like you do at any job, where you're just like, I'm just not having any luck on these dating apps. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're Venus Williams. It's one of those things where like every once in a while you have to like sort of like slap yourself where you're like, hey, like be aware of this. You're sitting next to one of the greatest athletes of all time. And like right across from you is another great athlete, sitting next to Gronk, who's another amazing athlete. And like that was a terrible attempt at a joke to describe Bobby Lee as an amazing athlete. The coffee has not kicked in yet. I swear I'm funnier on the show. But working with Gronk is like crazy because he's a giant 6'6", like Labrador Retriever puppy. He is so sweet and so funny and like so excited to do everything. I mean, like Venus was like game for literally anything we did on the show. She was like walking on a tightrope and like doing upside down sit-ups and everything. But
Wow.
Gronk was like jumping at the opportunity to do anything. We went to go dance with the Laker girls, like at the halftime of a Laker game, and he was there. Like they were like, okay, so we have one of the Laker girls who's going to work with you to train you up on the dance moves, you know, and she's available from this time to this time. And I go in thinking I'm going to need the most help, and the entire time Gronk was in there too.
Wow.
So for like 4 hours, the two of us were working on like these like complex dance maneuvers. I mean, this is like a 3-time Super Bowl champion, and you're like, I can't get the plie right. And he's like, I know. I think people think people think Gronk is kind of a caveman, and he is kind of a caveman, but he's like earnestly very funny and sweet, and he's a smart dude too. He's like honestly like he picked everything up. He's physically a genius.
Yeah, there's more below the surface with Gronk. I think, you know, from what we see of him in public, we see a certain person, but there's definitely a lot more there.
Yeah. We see the tip of the Gronkberg, and there's quite a bit under there.
I think that's a good way to put it. You are somebody that's really funny. You've worked with a ton of funny people. How about Keegan-Michael Key? Because he's another guy that just brings a ton of value to a show like this. What's most interesting about him?
I mean, like, that's another crazy thing where, like, on commercial breaks, you'll be joking around and Keegan-Michael Key will say, well, like, one of the funniest things you've ever heard. It's not even on camera, you know? It's amazing because everybody knows he's funny, but he's also, like, this show can be kind of a 3-ring circus, you know? And that's, like, what's good about it. Like, you want to go to a 3-ring circus. There's a lot of fun stuff happening, but you need, like, a good ringmaster. And Keegan-Michael Key, he would make sure we would always, like, stay on topic. He'd let us be funny, but we'd never like stray too far from what we were supposed to be talking about. He just made sure like everything worked, everything clicked. He's like the steady hand that you needed amidst all this craziness going on. And then like I said, he would drop like the funniest thing you'd heard that week, just like casually into the show. So that was amazing. And just like a comedy hero of mine. I mean, somebody like from Key and Peele to like some of the Chicago stuff they did. And then also like as like a legit actor now, it was like super crazy to be sitting. I'm like, I just watched that guy in that Predator movie. And now we're doing the show together. I just saw him in the, what was that Eddie Murphy movie that he was in that came out this
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it right now.
Oh, God. Anyway, whatever that movie, like I would literally like watch that one night and then go into work the next day and like talk to him. And it was like the craziest thing. I
my friend Dolomite, right? Dolomite is my name.
Oh, it's something. Dolomite is my name. Yeah. Something like that. Exactly. Yeah. Dolomite's in there for sure. So you're just in there with a guy you saw who's in this movie that's like up for Oscars and stuff like that. So that was crazy, man. Like, it's one thing. I work in late night and I get to like interact with these people a lot, but like as a comedian, I almost called myself a young comedian. I'm 35. As a comedian, like to be able to like, I don't know, be on equal footing or at least like presented on equal footing is like someone like Keegan-Michael Key. It's like, and even Bobby Lee, it's like so surreal and so cool and such a fun opportunity.
How about for you in terms of building out your comedy career? Because you have the whole late night thing, you do the stand-up. What have been some of the best parts of your career so far when you reflect on it?
Oh, man. I mean, getting to work on the Late Late Show with James Corden has been like crazy for me. I never thought I was going to be a writer. You know, I did stand-up. I was always someone who was like used to being like either in front of the camera or in front of the audience. And when I met Corden and I saw like everything he was capable of doing in like a really cool way. Like, I mean, he can sing and dance. We all know that, but he can also like act comedically in a very funny way and like picked up delivering a monologue so quick that I was like, I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to get to work with someone who's like this good at what they do. So let me like ride this out and see how long it lasts. So I know that's like a big answer, but like being on that show for like the full 5 years it's been on, I was the first writer that got hired has been like crazy. It's been such a crazy ride from like sitting, you know, in a restaurant where we first met. Nobody knew who he was. people, like I had a better chance of getting recognized in this restaurant than James Corden did to like being, because he was famous in England, but he wasn't famous here yet. And then to fast forward 5 years later, and he's this like huge entertainer here in the States, and they've won all these Emmys, and like, Carpool Karaoke is this massive success, and now to get to be on a show that he's executive producing, with Game On, it's just been like crazy. I think it's those, for me, the wildest things are like when you look back 5 years and you're like, who could have guessed this would happen, and
it's
like,
nuts. It really is.
It's so nuts. I never would have thought I'd be like sitting next to J.R. Smith, like on a desk, like cracking jokes like about David Ortiz or whatever. It's been so surreal and fun.
So that was 5 years ago. You guys are hanging out in the restaurant. Like, what comes across about Corden when you first meet him? Because we know all these things now, but like as you're initially getting it going, like what pops to you about James Corden? He's
got like a mate when you're in person with him. He's got like amazing like big brother energy, which I guess is the best way I can describe it. Like on the show, he's very funny and like very polished, and like he needs to be because he's like hosting a TV show. But he's even funnier in person. You know what I mean? Like he'll like bust your chops a little bit, and then like get you to bust his chops, and you're like, I don't know. His sense of humor is even better off camera, and I think he's incredibly funny on camera. But just like from immediately sitting there with him, like I was like, this guy likes a laugh. He's gonna do whatever it takes to get a laugh. He wants to have fun, and like if I can work with somebody where that's their goal, like I'm, sign me up. Like we sat there, our meeting was supposed to be for like half an hour, and I think we ended up sitting there for like 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Just like cracking each other up, not even drinking. He like sat down, he's like, you gonna have something to drink? And I was like, yeah, are you? He's like, yeah. And then the server comes up, I order a gin and tonic, and he gets a sparkling water. So he set me up right from Jump Street. But yeah, just like a funny guy, just like even funnier than you'd think, which I think is, I don't know, it's lovely in a friend,
I think that's the best compliment you can give somebody. And you mentioned the athletes that have rolled onto the show. You're a big NBA guy, so like who are the best guests that have shown up where you're just like you just said, I can't believe I'm hanging out with J.R. Smith. I can't believe this is my life right now.
Oh my God. I mean, J.R. Smith was a big one for me, like you said, because I am like a huge basketball fan. But Terrell Owens, who's not a basketball player,
right?
I mean, he plays basketball, but who's like a famous, legendary wide receiver in the NFL. We played this game where there was a basketball hoop on one end of a pool and then us on the other, and we had to try to dunk it like by leaping out over the pool. And like he was hesitant to do it at first, and I was like, oh man, has T.O. lost a step? And then he like finally did it. And then like watching him like elevate and just like stretch out, I was just like, oh yeah, it's insane that we're the same species of animal. This is crazy. So that was wild. And then I think the other moment that like felt the most surreal was it was on one of the first shows we filmed. David Ortiz, Big Papi, was one of the guests, and they're suspending me, and I think it was Venus as well, from like harnesses. And we're covered in, I'm wearing like a catcher's mask and a mitt, and I'm covered in pads. And then 20 feet in front of me, not even as far away as a pitcher's mound, there's David Ortiz with a tee and like plastic baseballs.
Oh my God.
And they're launching baseballs at us, and we like trying to catch them so they don't like hit the thing behind us and knock it over. And I'm like, okay, so David Ortiz, who's one of the greatest hitters in the history of Major League Baseball, is about to hit baseballs at you. And this all started because you did an open mic one time 10 years ago. You know? Also, I caught a few of the baseballs. I think I may have missed my calling.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, you could always say you did that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to, in generations, my great-great-grandchildren will refer to me as Major League Baseball player Ian Karmel. I think the stories will get jumbled up enough that they'll say I was actually a professional athlete myself.
Well, they can describe you in a lot of different ways, and Game On is out there. Ian, thanks so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it, man, and we'll talk to you down the road, all right?
My pleasure. Have a great rest of your day. It was a joy talking to you.